Hey everyone, this is Kate Weatherwise, your favorite weather girl, coming to you on Sunday, February 1st, 2026. Can you believe that it is February already? I can't believe it. January went by in a flash, did it not? Now, some of you may think that it did not go by in a flash because you're dealing with the aftermath of that big storm from last week that dropped a ton of freezing rain in places and a good bit of snow, and then the continued cold that will not allow that snow and or freezing rain that fell to melt and go away. So, what we're going to be talking about tonight is from about the central part of the country over to the East Coast and up and down the coast, what's currently going on weather-wise, and then what is on tap for the next 7 days. So let's go head over to one of my favorite maps, the satellite imagery with radar enhancement. You see this. This is what is left over of that system that was wreaking havoc in this part of the country, southern Virginia over into Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, northeastern and northern Georgia, into all of South Carolina and all of North Carolina. You all had a little bit of an issue with this weekend that started Friday and lasted until about this morning into the midday before this low started to lift out to the northeast. And now it's dragging down those northwesterly winds that are making it chilly, but those big winds that were hitting the Outer Banks, in some instances 60, 70 mile per hour gusts, especially this morning, those have greatly subsided, and you can just see, you can assess everything that has happened over the past 24 hours or so. Now, as you go further inland, you all, as all of you, this whole area, you received quite a bit more snow than you were probably thinking that you would. So some instances, in some areas, it was about 5 inches, and then in other areas, it was upwards of a foot or more of snow that fell. So this is going to be sticking with you for a little while longer. It's going to warm up a little bit, but it's going to go back below freezing at night, and then we're going to get some more cold temperatures. So it's not going to completely go away for a little while. It is February 1st, but it is still wintertime. Now, as I just mentioned, this system is moving to the northeast. Everybody along the East Coast is getting those northerly or northwesterly winds, and that's going to continue for a little while longer. You're seeing some gustier winds from about northern New Jersey, central northern New Jersey up through Maine, because that system is off the coast of Massachusetts, New York. If you go directly out, it's off the coast of central New Jersey. But it's heading at a pretty good clip to the northeast, and then it's going to be heading to Europe. So you all over in Ireland and the UK, expect it to get to your part of the woods in the next 2 to 3 days. It will be traversing over there, 3 or 4 days, 2 to 4 days. So now, if you go to the center part of the country, you see these southerly and southwesterly winds are flowing in, creating a little bit more warmth for you in Texas, into Oklahoma, and into Kansas. And then we have these northwesterly winds that are coming down from Canada, and it's sort of creating this trough here with these southerly winds coming up ahead of this system. It's not so much a system, but more of a trough, and it has created some light snow for this whole region, all the way from Wisconsin, the tippy top of Wisconsin, all the way down to southern Illinois and a little bit into far southwestern Tennessee. Light snow tonight for you all, but there's not a whole lot going on. There is some precipitation out in the Pacific Northwest that I will be talking about in another video that will be published tonight. But for tonight's video, for this one, we're going to be focusing from about here east. Now, you folks in Florida, you are nice and clear. You're going to have a nice clear night, and we're going to go over to the National Weather Service homepage here in a moment to show you what is happening here in Florida. But you all are going to have a chilly, chilly night with freezing temperatures because of these northwesterly winds that are not going to be switching at least for tonight. So let's go over to the National Weather Service homepage, and you can see almost the entire state of Florida is under a freeze warning, extreme cold warning. That is not a good situation because this is where we get a lot of our citrus. And so I am sure the farmers in this part of Florida are they're kind of not, I wouldn't say used to this, but they're hopefully they are prepared. And also there is a winter weather advisory for central North Carolina. Now this goes, let's take a look at it really quickly. Winter weather advisory. This goes until, let's bring this over so you can see it. This goes until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern Time. Accumulations from yesterday and last night will remain in place today, and hazardous travel will persist until 10 o'clock Monday morning for all of central North Carolina. So that is what you're looking at. And we'll go back to the main page here and bring this back into focus. So now that is all that is, and then we have some cold weather watches and warnings in the light blue as well. But that is a far cry from what we saw this time last week. And we do have some winter weather advisories for northeast Montana and the very, very northeastern or northwestern part of Minnesota. So now we're going to take a look at the temperatures and what are the temperatures looking like right now. They are in the teens. Of course, up here you have been very cold for weeks and weeks and weeks. You head further south and it's still pretty cold. You head down into North Carolina, South Carolina, even Georgia. You all are a little bit above freezing in southern Georgia and southern South Carolina, but you are, and maybe central North Carolina, but you all are under that winter weather advisory. So you're going to see some snow, and then it's going to stick around because temperatures are going to stay parked. It'll be above freezing tomorrow once this system goes through, but then it's going to get cold again at night. So whatever falls during the day or into the morning is most likely going to stick around. But there's not much in the way of warm temperatures. And you go down here into Florida, and it's even down in the Keys, down into, this is Cuba and Haiti, and it's in the 60s, 50s and 60s all the way down there. That's pretty cold. That is a pretty cold plunge. And we'll see here in a moment too how that pipeline continues to just pipe down that cold air from the Arctic. That's keeping these systems, and this cold plunge just keeps coming down and down and down, every so often, multiple times a week. So, and even into Texas, you're warmer, you're in the 60s and 50s in some cases. You're 65, that looks to be a little bit warm, maybe, and almost in the panhandle of Oklahoma, and then in the 40s. And then up here, as I mentioned, that little bit of system snow from that trough, there's some snow reports, 22 degrees around in here. So it is cold for most of this area, which is what you've been experiencing for the last bit. So now we're going to take us back over to here, and we're going to go to what's coming down the pike for this part of the country. This is the whole country. As you can see, this low pressure is exiting. Goodbye, sayonara. There's still a high pressure in place out here in the west, and we still have that cold dig of cold air that's reaching all the way down into Florida tonight. Now this will start to retreat as we see here for this week. The colder air moves east, and the high pressure stays in place out on the west coast and in the west, and not much in the way of any precipitation out there, maybe a few blips here and there, some wind. You all in Wyoming, you are used to the cold and the wind, Montana as well, but it's not going to be very, very cold for you all. It hasn't been extreme cold like you were used to for off and on for a lot of this winter. So this cold air, this trough continues to dig down with this cold air as we go into tomorrow. And then it starts to retreat a little bit with this high pressure building in down here into Florida. So you could see a rebound in temperatures, which would be nice, which will be nice. And then this system comes in about Tuesday time frame with some rain that comes through, maybe some thunderstorms down to the far south southern part of Louisiana, down into the Houston area and the Galveston area of Texas. A little bit of snow on the top end of this low, but it doesn't pop off the coast and create a coastal storm like we just saw. It sort of gets off the coast and it gets far enough out to sea, and then it develops into a low pressure that heads towards Europe and Africa and those, points east. Now we do have this trough behind it that does dig back down and create some more a colder air that'll be in place for this low pressure up here. Let me pull this down so you can see what I'm talking about. This low pressure here that's up into Canada, and it brings down a low pressure system, a line down into the United States. And it looks like around next weekend time frame, this will be an interesting feature that I will watch to see if it develops anymore. But it looks like it's going to bring some snow into all of the Northeast, down into the northern mid-Atlantic states of Maryland and Virginia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, that area. With, where this boundary line is between cold and warm I'm sure will fluctuate as the week continues, but there will be some snow for you all, some more snow. And then once this low gets off the coast, that's when it starts to wind up. And it gets windy. So this is next Saturday. We have some wind that's going to come back in based on this low that really rapidly intensifies once it gets off the coast. But it's going to be too far off the coast to create any sort of situation for this area. Looks like Maine, you're going to get some rain or some snow, and up into Canada, but this is going to be too far off the coast to create any sort of situation for snow for the immediate coastal areas or inland areas of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, outside of a little bit of Maine. And then, as you can see, it's still windy. This is Saturday evening of next weekend, and look, it just stays. It's just like, wow, I'm glad it didn't develop further to the west, because this would be a pretty big storm if so. Now again, I will continue to watch. Right now this is a week away, 6 days away, so I'm not anticipating this to change and start to develop further west, but you never know. You never know. You truly never know how things are going to develop. So that's why you just keep watching, and your instincts and your knowledge, your forecasting knowledge comes into play. Say, okay, is this going to develop or not based on other parameters in the atmosphere? So this is what we have. Wind that is really going to be kicking from about Pennsylvania up into Maine. This is on Sunday morning, Saturday night into Sunday morning is when the wind is really going to be kicking for you all. And then we almost get into a zonal flow here and this is where I'm going to stop. Where the cold air sort of retreats, except for the Northeast, maybe into Maryland, into the Northeast, but there's going to be a big bubble here. This is called an omega high, where you have a colder pocket that comes into the northwest, and then you have a high pressure here in the center part of the country, and then it comes back down and creates a trough here in the east. And that's looking like that's what's going to happen by next weekend, but it'll definitely be something that I keep an eye on, with some system snow perhaps into Montana, which will be good. We need a lot more snow out here for snowpack levels to try to climb out of the basement, which is where they are right now. But by next weekend, that high pressure looks like it's going to be in control for the center part of the country, bringing in a little bit of above average temperatures all the way north into the Dakotas. So we will keep an eye on that. And then I'm going to take you over really quickly to the temperatures. This is starting out as of today, this morning, and we're going to take you through this cold air that is still going to be in place. -1 in Ohio, central Ohio. This is tonight into tomorrow morning. And now the really, really cold air does retreat back up into Canada, but this is also during the day. And then it comes back down, but not as cold as it has been. So it's still going to be cold, but not as cold. These are below normal wintertime, nighttime temperatures, but not frigidly cold like we have seen up into the upper Midwest. This is where you are going to be -17. That is cold. And these are air temperatures, not wind chills. And then, but this high pressure system is still out into the west. We have some warmth sneaking in, 70s in southern Texas, down into Florida. You're still on the chillier side in the 50s and 60s for early February. Now, these are overnight temperatures too. And then into Wednesday, it really warms up. My neck of the woods, it's supposed to be in the low 50s on Wednesday and Thursday of this coming week. And 57 for central Montana. That is nuts for early February in Montana. That is nuts. I will say that. It is bonkers. So then by Thursday, we have, again, that trough here with that cold air that just keeps coming back again and again and again. It's hanging on. It does not want to leave. And then, look, we have some purples up here into Canada that trying to come down. They do a little bit come down. Okay, so then by next weekend, it looks like when that potential system comes into play next weekend with the snow through here, it looks like that cold air will be along with it. So that's why it's just going to be snow all the way down to here. But that's going to be something that I keep an eye on. But again, the picture is semi-quiet this week with a couple systems that are coming through. Maybe bringing some thunderstorms to the very far south into Louisiana. Maybe some system snow. That system that's going to come off the coast Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, and then just blow up when it gets off the coast and create a windy situation for the East Coast later in the week. Now, and these temperatures are just going to stay cold, above or below average. So that is what we have going on this week, guys. I hope that you are hanging in there in the East and even down into Florida. You're not used to this. I used to live in the Miami area. I lived there for 5 years. So I got to experience, usually January, February timeframe, you would see temperatures in the 30s at night, but then it would quickly go up to the 60s and low 70s during the day. And it's not really doing that right now. That will change, but we will see when, because this cold air, this pipeline, let me take you over here really quickly to this. This is what I wanted to show you as well. This pipeline it's still entrenched from the Arctic, this high pressure that just keeps pulling down cold air situation after cold air situation, just keeps plunging down all the way. And this is the center part of the United States. And this is where it's sliding down right through here. This is the high pressure that's in control, keeping things calm for the most part and above average temperatures. This is that low pressure system that is now exiting over this way and will head over towards Ireland and the UK later this week. But this is that pipeline right through here that keeps allowing these cold temperatures right down into Florida, right down into Cuba and Haiti and this part of the world. So this is not going away anytime soon. So just keep that in mind as you're making your plans. If you're trying to make plans to go somewhere warm, just keep that in mind. And yes, I will be back with further updates throughout this week when I see something interesting, or I'll keep an eye on those couple of storms that are going to come through this week to see if there's any changes or what's going to happen with them, and make an appropriate video to alert you and let you know what's coming down the pike. But I hope you're having a good evening. I will talk to you soon. And this is Kate Weatherwise saying bye for now.